Hi there. This is the second conversation that I'm posting on my YouTube channel. The first one was, I think, 2 years ago, which was about me manifesting a trip to Germany in peak COVID times. So that was a big manifestation that I had. It was a desire that I wanted to manifest. And of course, it happened. I shared that journey of what it took me to believe in that this is possible and how I had to change my mindset towards it. And today I want to share another such story which I experienced 2 years ago, I think. So then the first conversation was in 2020 and now it's 24. So that was 4 years ago, oh my God. And This story is from 2022, 2 years ago. In fact, to the date, almost to the date. So today is 17th October, and I want to share about something that happened over 15th and 16th October 2022, which is my dream Indian wedding celebration. So I want to share the story of how I manifested the kind of celebration that I wanted for our Indian wedding. Because my husband is a foreigner and we celebrated our wedding in three different ways. The first, of course, was the court wedding because we needed all the documents, but that in itself was a very sweet, small, intimate celebration. That was a celebration that was the closest to my heart because it was more about us and we were at the focus of it, and it was very like to the point. It was about us getting married, and there was no pomp and show. It was just sweet, cute, getting it done, and then celebrating a little bit with our family afterwards. And The other thing that we wanted is that we wanted to celebrate with our family members in both the traditions. We wanted to have a church wedding as per the Christian traditions from his country, and we wanted to have a Hindu celebration in my country with my family and his family as well. Yeah, I wanted to share that story of how that came to be because that was a big desire that I had for a long, long, long time. And there were many parts of it which were like, oh, this might not happen. This is so difficult. And this feels like this is really out of my hands. That's something that I wanted to share. It's kind of a vlog. So that if there is something that you feel is a big desire that you have in your heart and it feels maybe a bit far-fetched right now, or it may seem like there are people very close to you who can't see this happening, or who out of their concern for you, being well meaning and genuinely caring for you, are telling you that hey, this is not possible, let's look at something else. I just want to share my story so that you can have that faith and you can also have the trust in your own desire that things will fall into place. So let's begin. So the first part about this manifestation that I want to share is that I had this desire, as I said, since a long time. Now, I know my husband for like I think 11 or 12 years now. Since we knew each other, since we were dating, we met each other. Also, we met each other's families, friends, and they have been our support system. Our families, our friends have been a big, big part of our relationship. They've helped us be together, they've supported us unconditionally. To have them be at the core of our celebration was really important for both of us. And every time I visited him in Germany, he's from Germany, um, all his friends and his family members invited me with open arms for everything. And everyone was always so warm and open and loving. And a big part of me was like, when will I get to extend the same warmth to them? Like, I would imagine that what would it be like when they come and visit India? Wouldn't it be so fun if I could also host them in our house? Or what are the things that I would show them? So I would have all these daydreams, because when someone is so nice to you and so kind to you and shows you a part of their own life, you are exposed to something new, exposed to something different and interesting, and then you naturally want to reciprocate, and you think that, oh, they might find this interesting in India, they might find that interesting in India. Oh, I wonder how they would react to this. And so this was a desire that kept building up over many years. So that is the first part, I would say, of my story. Every time there is a manifestation, every time there is something that you really want to experience in your life, attract into your life, or achieve or manifest, I use those words interchangeably. Then at the core of it is that desire, which is genuine, it's heartfelt, and it's not for the sake of anyone else. It's not for showing something to someone else. It's not about proving anything to anyone else. It's really genuine in your heart. And if no one else gets to see it, if no one else gets to witness it, you're still happy that this happens because it it's just for your satisfaction. It's just something that you can't even explain why you want it. I hope I made sense there. But that was something that over the years was building up, that I really wanted to show them this part of my life. Over the course of many years, as we thought about our life together, our future together, and when we would want to marry and how we would want to celebrate our wedding, of course, Indian Hindu wedding celebration was a big part of it. And traditionally, I would say that it usually happens at the bride's house, the celebration, the wedding celebration, and the groom comes to her house. Groom, along with his family, comes to her house and takes her takes her to his own house or whatever. But usually, I would say traditionally, it would happen at the girl's house. Now, my father was from the defense, in the Indian Defense Services, and we never had one place or one city or town where I was brought up. We always kept getting transferred from one city to a city or town to another every 2 years or every 3 years. And I never had a place which felt like, okay, this is home, this is where I was brought up, or I am from this place. So it was always about this, the defense areas that I was very familiar with, very comfortable with. And there is this one particular defense area that feels a lot like home to me, because my dad was posted there often. I think he was posted there twice, and right now also they're settled very close to that. So that is a place that over time I've also grown a strong connection with. Just generally, also, it's so peaceful, it's so quiet, there's so much nature there. I feel like there's some inexplicable connection there. I just enjoy being there so much. So when I started thinking about where I would want to get married, because now in today's day and age, you can get married anywhere. It's not tied to where you belong or which city, or it's more about where you want to have your, or sometimes also what's more feasible. So when I thought about all these things, I considered this defense area, that this would be the perfect place to get married for me. And because we had these three wedding celebrations, we were also spoiled for choices. So it was more like, okay, I'll do this according to what I like here, and that for that we can think of a different venue as per what my husband likes. So we had, like, these choices that we could decide. So here is something that felt really close to me, that this is a place that I want to get married. And I would walk around there and I would imagine that. And as a child, also, when my father was posted there, I remember attending people's weddings there. People who were posted there, people who were serving there in that defense area. Um, there is an institute. So an institute is where you would have all the celebrations, you would have dinner parties, or you would have just get-togethers, and you would also have bigger celebrations like weddings. So as a kid, I remember attending wedding celebrations there. So it was like, this makes perfect sense. It has huge gardens, it has lush trees, and it has so much history for me, because as a kid, and I won't say kid, but like when I was maybe 11 to 13 years old, I spent so many evenings there hanging out with my friends, or watching movies there, or attending parties there. So it is a big part of my childhood, or it is important in my memories. So I remember being in my parents' house, and I was helping my mom out in the kitchen, and I don't know what she was doing. She was cutting something, so I think I was also cutting along with her some vegetables. And I remember this so vividly. It's so clear in my mind, because that moment was so vivid. We were standing in front of the wash basin, or the kitchen sink, and both of us are doing whatever the chore was. And there's a window that looks towards the trees right outside our house, and both of us were like looking through the window and talking about this. And I just said that I thought that it would be a really cool idea to get married in this defense area in this institute. And my mom also was like, yeah, that's such a good idea. I mean, even she thought about it because, of course, she also has attended many celebrations and everything. So she said, even I thought about it, wouldn't it be so cool? And then something clicked for both of us, that both of us were talking, looking out of the window, and just sharing ideas that wouldn't it be so nice if we could do the puja here or the main rituals here, and then this celebration we can do in that garden, and then imagine if his parents do this in this area. And it was as if we were watching the same daydream but from different perspectives, and just sharing with each other. And it just was so, like, such a, I don't know if she remembers this so clearly, but I remember this so clearly because it felt like we just watched a movie, or as I said, a daydream, which already happened or which we know is going to happen. It was so vivid and it was so clear, and both of us were just buzzing and excited, like, yeah, this is such a great idea, like, perfect, okay, we're going to do this here, and this wedding is going to happen there. It's so amazing, it's so perfect. I'm just so happy. So it was like, yeah, of course. And we had, as I said, we planned each and everything, that this will happen here, this will happen there. We had claimed all these areas of that institute. Now, few days later, no, now my father is retired. It's been a few years since he's retired. Um, we discussed this idea with him. I don't know, we brought it up somewhere or the other, but we were so confident about it and we were so sure about it. We just kind of like mentioned it in passing that, yeah, of course, we're going to have the celebration here. And my dad was like, no, you're not. And I said, what are you saying? No, of course, we're going to get married here. He said, foreigners are not allowed in the defense area. And in that second, like in that moment, like my whole reality came crashing down, like that daydream kind of, broke. There was a big crack in this image, and I was like, what are you saying? He said, no, it's not possible, I'm telling you, it's not possible. And my dad, as I said, many years ago he was posted there and he served there, and now he's retired. He knows he knows these things. And I was like, no, but how can it be? It was so, no, this is my internal dialogue, that how can it be? It was so clear and vivid and such a real desire that felt so good and so true. It was like a resonance. Like this idea resonated with me, that it made me, resonance is like that concept that everything has a resonant frequency. When you have that frequency next to that object, it rings naturally. It's its natural frequency. Sorry for that random tangent, but I felt like that idea or that thought, that daydream resonated with me so much that I was ringing, that it had to be true. But then my dad said, no, it can't happen. It was like a blow, that it took me a while to like like come back to, like, calm myself and like relax a little bit. And both my mom and I were like, oh, what is that? It can't be, it must be. But again, now this was the first hurdle, so to say, where, once you have a dream and a desire that just gets you so excited, it feels so true, it feels so real, it feels like, oh, this is so nice. You could be very focused and you could be very pure in your intention and your focus and your thoughts, that you don't let these doubts creep up, or you don't let someone else tell you that this can't happen. But it may happen at some point in the journey of manifesting that desire, or the desire coming to, full fruition or realization, that there might be like how or why, or I don't think this can happen. There might be some doubts that creep up. So this was my first big doubt, because I am not the person serving in the defense area. It was my dad. And if he's saying that it's not possible, then it put a big, like, question mark on the whole idea. So now it was the point for me to make a decision whether I should just be like, okay, I don't think that this can happen, and take a few steps back, or I still hold on to my faith that since I had this desire that felt so good, that felt so right, there must be a way that this would happen. There must be some truth to it. There must be a reason why it came to me. This felt so good to me that I think this is because I really wanted it. So then this was a choice that I had to make in that moment, that, okay, maybe that is not the path through which this happens just yet. because I thought, okay, I'll just ask my dad and he'll make things happen, whatever permissions need to be taken, and then we'll just have the venue. But I thought maybe this is not the direct path, maybe there's going to be a different path, and I have to be open to that. So if this door is not going to open yet, and again, my dad loves me and wants us to get married and wants us to have the biggest celebration. So of course he's well meaning and of course he cares for us, but he just kind of put his foot down that this is not possible. So I made that decision that okay, I'm still open to this idea. I know this can happen, maybe not yet through this. So that was like the point number one, that you have to choose, like in the face of someone saying this can't happen, and not like a very blind, resentful, rebellious feeling that you don't know what you're talking about, I'm gonna make it happen. No, it's like, okay, maybe this is not the path, maybe there's gonna be a different path, but I'm gonna be open to it. I'm gonna trust in that feeling that I had. So that happened. Okay, we settled down for a while, and a few days later, one of my so my brother was also staying with my parents. We were all staying together, and my brother was going to meet his friend, a very old friend, a very good friend that even I knew very well. I knew his parents because my brother and he were friends growing up, and they keep meeting each other. So the friend was visiting us and visiting my brother. So the friend came over and he was visiting us for a weekend, and my brother and he, they went to the defense area also and hung out and did whatever. So at some point my brother mentioned to him that yeah, my sister wants to get married here, but my dad says this is not possible because foreigners are not allowed to come here. It requires like a high level of permissions. You need permissions on every level of defense authority to make sure that they are allowed to have this, and it seems it's quite difficult, so something like that. And then his friend said, my dad is currently working in this defense department, which gives permissions. It's not just gives permission, but it comes under his portfolio that he said he just gave permission to another lady who wanted to get married to a French guy in the defense area. Now I'm saying defense generally because I don't want to say exactly which one, which area, which city and everything, but it's for the story, right? So he said he just gave permission to this French guy and this Indian girl whose father was in the defense area, or who was serving in the defense, and they got permission to get married. And now this friend is visiting, he told my brother this thing, my brother tells me the next day that this is what my friend was saying. And then again, then this was like a confirmation that okay, I am on the right track. I hope I didn't lose you, right? I hope this makes sense to you. So the friend's father is currently serving in that department, at least 2 years ago was currently serving in that department, where he just gave permission to another foreigner and Indian couple, and they got permission to get married in a defense area. And what are the odds, what are the chances, what an amazing serendipity or coincidence. But I know that this was not a coincidence, because I was open to the idea that this will happen through another path, through another way, maybe not directly through my dad, but it's so my being open to it coming through different ways made this happen. Like, what are the odds? And the trip by his friend was also not planned, it was a very spontaneous plan. So when this happened, I was like, okay, so it's my responsibility to reach out to his father, my brother's friend's father, who, as I said, I also know him and he also knows me, since my brother and his son are like besties since many years. So I reached out to that uncle. I told him everything. I sent him a message first of all, and then I asked him whenever he's free if I can ask him if it is possible at all, and in the first place. And then he called me up and he said, yeah, beta is like, yeah, daughter, yeah, beta, no issues, congratulations that you guys, we were already married by that point because we had done the court wedding. Congratulations on the wedding, and of course I'll help you with the permissions, no issues at all. These are the documents that are required, and then you just send them across this channel that your dad knows, and then we'll get the permissions in order and you can have a celebration. And when he said this, I was so happy. I was like, yay, this is possible, and this is so good, and this is so nice. And this was a conversation only I had directly with the uncle. I did not involve my dad in it yet. because I wanted to have something to, like, a lead to kind of go through, and talk to him about it, discuss it further. So then I told him, when I got to know from this uncle who's currently serving, that it is possible. This is the conversation that I had with him, and these are the documents that would be required for anyone who's visiting a defense area, needs to give a certain amount of information about themselves. It's kind of like a visa for the foreigners. They have to state the purpose, and the permissions have to go through the right channel so that everyone is aware of what's happening. And when I told this to my dad, his first reaction was like, no, no, no. I think, I'm not sure if this is, if this is correct or if it is possible, because he also came from his own experience. Now, this is another important thing that I feel like everyone will give you the best advice based on their own experiences, right? Something that they saw happen that worked for them or didn't work for them, of course they would want to share that for you with you. So for my dad, it was that someone who was senior to him and serving, his daughter wanted to get married to her foreigner fiance as well in the defense area, but they were not granted permission. So in my dad's experience, it was that if he was not able to get that permission back then it would be more difficult for us, or impossible, in fact. Like, if they didn't get it at all, then how would we get it? But then this uncle showed up out of nowhere, who I have not spoken to in years. But he was just giving me all his blessings and warm wishes, and just like, just send it across, everything will be fine. And we were months away from it, so we had enough time. So now things started like looking up, and it was a great time. But mind you, still within me internally, there are like a lot of things. Now I had both things going on. I had this strong desire that, of course, I really want everyone to come here. I love this place, and this would be the perfect place for me to get married. I would be so excited to get married here. But also at the same time, I had the other things going on as well, that yeah, it didn't happen for someone else. My dad doesn't think that it is possible. Another thing was that, since COVID, no big celebration had happened in that institute, and it was currently going through renovations. So that in itself is another thing. Like, logistically, how will this happen here? Because nothing has happened here since the last 2 years, and then now I'm making a big, wanting to have a big celebration with foreigners, and with major renovations happening here. How will this happen? So, two streams of thought going in my mind parallelly. And one of the teachers that I follow a lot, they are called Abraham Hicks. They talk a lot about law of attraction and manifestation. They talk about split energy, or you could say, as one analogy that they give is that you want to go in a certain direction. This is the desire, and you can imagine a train. You put an engine in this direction. That, okay, this is possible. Things are lining up. We'll have the right connections. I'm going to trust. So you're kind of putting the engines in the direction of where you want to go. But at the same time, when we keep thinking, this didn't happen for someone else, the renovations are not happening, or they're underway, I don't know if they'll be done on time, I don't know how long the permissions will take. So you're putting the engines in the opposite direction. So it kind of is like it's not making things move forward in any way. It feels like nothing is moving. It feels like it's stuck. In fact, the more you think that things will not happen, the more you're putting energy or thoughts in the direction of why it's not possible, why it can't happen, the more you'll see evidence of that. And it's kind of like a downward cycle. And the same is true of the other side. So your journey, or my journey in that time, was to convince myself that things can fall into place. And one of the things that I did during that time was to walk around that area, that defense area, not just the institute, but just everywhere, and already imagine that, yeah, our guests will stay here, having the feeling that, yeah, it's finalized. How would I feel if it was finalized? Oh, these uncles and aunts are staying here, these relatives are staying here. And also another aspect of me was thinking about, yeah, this place, I have a beautiful connection to this place. This place also wants to celebrate my Indian wedding here. So these were the internal shifts that I was trying to, like, basically convince myself. Or it wasn't a very rushed feeling. I was not forcing myself to do that, but it was a very gentle, kind stream of nice, loving thoughts that wouldn't be so nice if they had these guest rooms, wouldn't be so nice to think that these beautiful trees, this beautiful area wants to celebrate my wedding here as well. And it just was me soothing myself and me calming myself. And again, I'm just sharing my experience with you. Your journey of convincing yourself why the thing that you desire would be different. You might have a different string of thoughts that will help you more, that will resonate with you more. These were my thoughts. Another journey that I had to take in my mind was thinking that all of these structures, this defense, permissions, it felt like it's so big and it's so much bigger than me. And I felt like a small person. I'm not even I'm not even someone who served in that. I'm the daughter of someone who served in that. So it felt like it's so small and I'm asking for a huge desire, and there's someone up there on a pedestal who has to grant me my desire. And I think that can also happen for many of our desires, where we put our desire, or we put the person or authority or a voice on a pedestal who is going to give us permission to do it. Somehow there is this gap between us and the person or the thing, or you know, it might be an offer letter that you're waiting for, it might be some faceless organization, something big that is going to say that now you can do this, now you are rich, now you are fit, now you are worthy of love, whatever it might be. So if there is this disconnect, or there's a feeling of that is so much bigger than who I am, then we need to like move that and shift it. And that was a big part of me, to think that I am at the same level as the defense organization. Just mind you, it's in my mind, it's in my thoughts and my beliefs, to make myself feel big enough that I deserve this, that I'm worthy of this, that the fact that I'm asking for this is not like it's not unrealistic, it's not a crazy dream, it's like I deserve it. So I had to like build myself up and say that since I've asked for a desire, I have a strong faith in the universe, in God, in whatever is your way of connecting to the, to have that faith in things working out for you, in having a higher power who loves you and supports you and guides you. So my way of calling it out was the universe. And so I kept telling me that myself, that if I have a desire, then I'm sure that the universe has means, people, connections, resources to make it happen. And I am open to being a part of that. I'm not going to be in resistance of that. I'm not going to be in doubt of that, in being doubtful of it. I'm going to make myself more and more open to believing in it happening. So that was a very strong thing that had to keep happening parallelly, because there's only so much you could do. There was, in fact, I could physically not do anything. Everything that had to happen through my dad. He had to fill in the forms, he had to send the permission or the letter of permission to someone, but I could not physically do anything. But this was the internal journey that I was having. Now, the second part of it that is so interesting is that we have heard from this uncle who is in that high authority of giving permissions. Then we had to also start the process from the ground up, where we want to have, where the venue is, where that area is. The highest authority there has to start off the process so that it reaches from here to there. And throughout this channel, there are different levels through which it has to go, where it will be processed, read, approved, and then it will come back to my dad. Oh, that was such a long journey. So what we started with was collecting the data of everyone who's coming there, the information that had to be shared, and that was a lot of paperwork that my dad and my husband put through to get the information of everyone before we set out the application. And again, my dad just wants to help me, and he was still skeptical of it, but he was like, okay, let's do it, why not, let's just start this process. And so in his approach, he wanted it to be perfect, so he created a proper Excel sheet with every information that is required. My husband is also someone who's very thorough, so they had like such a big thick bundle of sheets of information, of permissions, of whatever. and then they had to submit it on the first level, which is where the venue is, or where the defense area is, or the authority here. Now, one of the senior most people there is also a very good friend of my dad, or he's younger to my dad, or in position also. He had served with him, so he also is a very loving figure. And he said, "Don't worry, we'll do our best. We'll try to make everything work very well, and we'll also send across things very well. So don't like." I also talked to him, and he's like, "We're doing everything will be taken care of. Don't worry." So I was like, "Thank you so much." And it was just kind, so kind, that so many people wanted this to also happen out of their kindness. So from here, the application went through. And I have to give huge credit to my dad and my husband, who sat days after days after days collecting that information, making sure everything is correct, and then sending it across. Um, then when it went through, there's another, as I said, another checkpoint. So on the next level, there was a very good friend of my dad, or postmate of my dad, who also was like, "Don't worry, we will see this through, it'll be good, it'll happen, and we'll take this forward." So all these people were giving me also this hope, or this affirmation that this would happen. And these are the things that I was holding on to, that yes, this can happen, this can happen, and I have to believe in this happening. So we had sent the application across, and of course we were doing the other preparations of preparing the entire family and friends who were going to come, and making sure they have a good time, because of course they were planning to travel a bit as well in India. So those are the preparations happening in parallel. Us getting ready for our marriage wedding celebrations, getting our dresses, and all the programs, organizing that. And it was really, really close. Like, it was about 10 days or so, that before the actual celebration, that, or 10 or 15 days, that we were not sure. We would go to the venue, and we would talk to the people who would set up the decorations there, that okay, this is where we would do this is where we would do the other things. Two things were still happening: the renovations were still happening, and or pending. The renovations were still pending, they were undergoing. And the second thing was, the official permission was still pending. We didn't have it, like, it was going through all these channels, but we still didn't have it in our hands. So I remember once my husband asked me that, "We don't even have the permission yet. What about like, if it doesn't happen?" I mean, we were taking it for granted, that we kind of knew that it will happen. Everyone was involved, but still we were like, okay, yeah, this is not yet, like, not in our hands yet. Like, it's not yet concrete, it's not yet final. So there was this one day, so there was, I realized that there was a part of me that was also not 100% convinced yet. And I was the one who had to be convinced that this is possible, or this is the place I want to get married. And I know that I've been telling you that this is a place I really wanted to get married, but in that moment, I think I still had some doubts, because the renovations were still happening. And it's a nice place, but it's also not like some grand destination wedding venue. It's just something so intimate and so close to me, that a part of me was maybe like, I don't know if everyone would like it, or it would be the perfect place or not. So this one afternoon, we went there to talk to the people who are going to set up the decorations and the tents. And it was afternoon, the sun was kind of setting, late afternoon. And the gardens and the trees, and like the sun coming through the trees, everything looked so beautiful and so magical. And in that moment, I was like, yes, this is the place that I want to get married, or this is the place where I want to have that celebration. Like, I was convinced in that moment that yes, this is what I want. 100% yes. There was no doubt anymore. Because all this while, there were so many, as I said, split energy, this thing and that thing, going in opposite directions. But in that moment, it was a very visceral feeling that this is where I want to get married. And it felt so good, and it felt so sure, it felt so like yes, such a like hell yes, that something shifted in that moment, something clicked into place. So the very next day, my dad opened his phone, and he read out a message, that this is the message that I received. your application has been, whatever, processed, and you have the permissions. Please have great celebration and everything. And I jumped. I was so happy. I like jumped, and he also started laughing, and he said, I didn't believe that this could happen. I said, I know that he didn't believe it, but it was so, so, so fun, and it was so good, and we laughed so hard. And oh my God, I remember that moment was so good. And like, because we are going full steam ahead with everything, every celebration and inviting everyone. And but this one letter was still missing. For like, this is at the back of your head, when will this come? When, because we were sure that it will happen, because now we got so much like feedback from so many people that yeah, everything's good, it's gonna happen, we're gonna process it. But we also didn't want to do anything out of line. We wanted to have that permission letter with us while we're having the celebration. So finally it happened, and it was so amazing and so happy. I have to say that at one point, before that feeling, before that afternoon, when I think my husband asked me that we still don't have the permission, I also had a moment of detachment, which is also, I think, important in manifesting. Sometimes we can attach so much value and importance to something, that if this doesn't happen, then this will not be good enough, then I will not be good enough, then I don't have this and that. So sometimes we can like put all our eggs in one basket and wait for it to feel good about ourselves or our life or our celebration. So I also didn't want that. I was like, yes, I love this place, and I really, really would want this. It's a genuine desire and true desire. But if this doesn't come through, there were like a bunch of beautiful wedding locations close by. So I was like, I also don't mind that, you know, we could do it somewhere else also. Because at the end of the day, it's about celebrating it with the family and having a great time with the family. So that was at the core of it. And that was also a moment of detachment. So sometimes you may feel like, I have to get this thing right now. I have to get, I don't know, whatever your goal may be right now, this person, this company, this position, this course, this right now. Like, if you can let go of that and just take a few steps back and be like, what is really important? And put that in perspective. Yes, of course, this would be ideal. I would love that. But what is at the core of it? For me, it was a celebration with the family and having a great time with the family. So I was like, I know I can allow myself to enjoy somewhere else also. I will not be, I would not sulk if this doesn't happen in this venue. I would still want to have a good time. So there was a detachment as well. After some point, I was like, I will not put the venue, over everything else. But of course, that detachment also helped in making it happen, well, because when you have that negative attachment to something, it can come from a place of a lot of control. And control means like you don't trust it, that I really need this to happen, I really need this. If this doesn't happen, then maybe others won't like it, maybe it won't be so good. So I had, of course, that in also many different areas of my life. During the wedding, in small things also, I had this attachment, which didn't go the way I wanted it then, of course. So having that detachment to your desire as well, and to the thing that you think will make this, will be the path through which this desire happens, having the detachment is also really, really helpful and important, because it gives you a bit more perspective, puts things in context, what is really important here. So it would be also interesting for you to think about, okay, what is really at the core of this? As I said, for me, it was about having a great time of, love, laughter, happiness, joy, celebration with my family, like both in Indian and German family. So now we have all the things in place. We have the permissions, we have the letter, renovation is still happening. Now it was like, it took a life of its own, this whole thing, this venue. Because what happened was, a really close friend of my dad, or a course mate of my dad, he is also in an important position in the defense. And my dad, of course, invited him, and he invited his friends, and he was like, I'm going to be there for the wedding, of course. And now for this defense area, it's not just that he's coming for the wedding. He's like, oh, this person, this officer is coming to our defense area. We have to make sure everything is good and everything is in a good condition. We have to personally see to it that the renovations are going along well, and things are, of a really good quality. So it felt like, and this is something I'm just realizing, I had said to myself earlier, this place wants to celebrate my wedding here. It really felt like this. Everyone was like, making sure that things are good and things are painted freshly, and all the last minute jobs that had to be done, or sometimes you would overlook it. Everything was making, there are these times where there is a inspection happening and just before inspection everything is cleaned up. It was kind of like that, and it was because of our celebration. And any request that we had, it was met with like abundance. We had so many people taking care of this event, so many people genuinely being there and wanting this to happen for us, that, as I said, it had a life of its own. It went beyond what my original desire was. It pulled into it so many kind and loving, resourceful people who wanted to give their best. My relatives, they put in so much effort and so much thought, so much kindness. Even from like all the Germans who had also come, all the foreigners who had also come, everyone was like there to make sure that this is a great event. And that's how I manifested such an amazing time. And that's it's a bit funny because I think in traditional Indian weddings, it can happen that the parents take over a bit more control and decide and dictate what should happen at the wedding, and the main couple kind of gets a little bit sidelined, I would say, because then it becomes a bigger celebration. It becomes about the family and everything, and maybe the kids who maybe wanted something smaller and intimate. But as I said, we had like these three celebrations. We had our For me, we had our intimate, close circle celebration of our court wedding, and this was our desire as a couple to celebrate. We wanted this big celebration with our family. We wanted that, and everyone came through so beautifully. And it was we also wanted to make sure that it was not a very on a big scale in the sense of the number of people who are coming. We wanted our families to spend time together and engage together, our friends to get to know each other. And there were these 2 days were just so brilliant. And don't get me wrong, I was stressed throughout because there was so much to organize parallelly. But after the point where I couldn't control anything, like when the event started, because just before the event, I'm talking to the makeup artist, I'm talking to the drums guy, I'm talking to whoever, this and that. And in the moment when things started, I was like, okay, now I am going to enjoy. And we had such a great celebration. We had such a good time. We danced so much. We partied so much. And it was exactly what I wanted. And I remember long time ago when my dad said this would not happen, I had to put all these reminders for myself, or all these anchors for myself, that I want to believe in this, that this is possible. One of the things was that I looked up that institute's name on Google and looked up wedding celebration at this institute. And there was like a 20-year-old video that was a wedding celebration. I held on to it. I was like, this video that I've found, it's a sign for me that this will happen. And I still have that video, which is like 20, I don't know how many years ago, but it was really old. And I had taken screenshots also of the, Google Maps of where I wanted our wedding. And I had like made a small vision board of it, but everything came true. Everything came true. Yeah, that was my story. And I think I finished this in one go. Um, I just wanted to share this because, as you can see, it brought me so much excitement. It was such a joyful thing that it was a unique experience for everyone who was there, like the Indians, the foreigners, the people who were organizing, who were making sure this happens. It was everything that I wanted that happened. And more and more. I had not even anticipated it to become at the scale that it became, the help that came through. So again, when you have a desire, you will not know how this will happen. So many of the people who came through, who helped, they didn't exist for me before this. They came into my life. I attracted them in my life step by step. Who filled in the next step perfectly at the last minute. Also, many times at the last minute, our caterers came in really at the last minute, that we got to know, who were again so kind. They were so loving. that we met them again a week before the wedding, and they were like, "Your wedding is next week." Are we talking about next week? Like, yeah. Because we had so many things going on, and some things didn't fall into place at the right time. Again, things which didn't fit in the right time. It was because there was a redirection, and we found someone even better, who really, like, the vendors who we had, the caterers who we had, the decoration people who we had, they really took this upon themselves as if it was like a wedding in their own family. They were there, they were caring for us, we are friends with them, and they would call us, and they, if you need something, let us know. So many personal touches everywhere. So it was such a nice time. So that was the dream wedding that I had, and I'm so happy that this happened. And exactly that feeling that I had, that our families becoming one family, celebrating together in so much joy, so much happiness. We had that, and much more than what I had anticipated. So, whatever your desire may be, hold on to that feeling of it. What is it that, and trust in that, that if I have this desire, don't know how, don't know when, and I don't know the timeline, but things will fall into place. And it's not always a smooth journey, of course. As I said, there was a lot of convincing I had to convince myself that this is possible, I can do it, things will fall into place. A lot of conversations I had to have with myself, but over time it was also about me convincing myself that this can happen, and my life reflecting that, and then me attracting people into my life like that, and circumstances in my life like that, and things just becoming more and more beautiful. So yeah, it's so worth it, believing in your desire. It's a good reminder for me for the things that I want to manifest coming in the future, that it's possible, and there are people who are out there to help you, who are kind, who are loving. Those who might tell you it's not possible, just again try to have compassion for them. They care for you, they love you, and they are telling from their experience. Sometimes my dad still tells people, I didn't think this was possible. But then once he got the permission, he went all in. He could, because as I said, he wanted us to also have the biggest celebration. He's not in any of the photos because he was always behind the scenes making sure everything is, like, organized perfectly. He had the biggest smile when he's seeing others having fun. So yeah, the people who are maybe telling you it's not possible, the closest people, they're just saying this out of their concern for you. But you have to believe in your own desire and trust that things will fall into place. So happy manifesting. And if you have any questions about your dreams and your manifestations, I also do sessions with people and help them in manifesting their desires. So if you have any such desires that you want to manifest, you can reach out to me, and yeah, I can help you with that. Bye.